Quite exciting to be in the Prem finals, Manchester this year. We know we've got some hard competition coming up for us, but I think that since we've been training a lot recently, especially for Prem and Challenge League combined, we're going to do well.
Being in the Prem finals in Manchester is amazing. It's what we've wanted for ages. Made season 1, got there, made Challenge League, we're in there now, and this is just as equal as anything else we're playing in at the minute.
I mean, we know that Vexed don't practice that much, or if at all. We practice 6 days a week, so I think we are going in this as the fan favourites due to that factor alone and the factor that we are in Challenge League. But these players in Vexed are very aggressive and they're very good players. They have ex-G2 player, Coach Ferro on their team, so it's going to be bad for us to underestimate them, which we're not doing, and I think it'll be a fair match.
We're all really confident against Vexed. We've practiced quite a lot recently. We were all on top of our game recently. I think it's going to be another game we'll go into and hopefully lose over them. Definitely making Challenger League has improved each and every player massively. It's took them to a level where you have to play organised and play a lot better as a team. It's going to help. It's going to definitely rub off in this tournament and probably push us a bit further than it did last time in Leicester, and hopefully we can get to the final, try and win it.
To win the Prem is everything for the UK players because it's the biggest tournament in the UKC scene right now, so it's a title that you want to have, so that's what we're going for this season.
And that's the MnM gaming roster, and you can see the players there. And one thing I want to point out as well is the fact that they've been practicing 6 days a week. They've done all the Prem bits and pieces. In the Challenger League, they've been learning. Even though it's been best of ones, they've been picking up bits and pieces along the road here. And now it's their time to really try and shine here.
Yeah, you look at their Challenger League. They were picked as one of the favourites, still are one of the favourites to hopefully maybe try and push their way into a relegation spot. But they have had some stiff competition. And of course, the level of Prem compared to the level of CL, there is a big difference, as we know that. So certainly they have a lot of experience. They are certainly rising in terms of rankings with the EU scene, and a lot of pro teams really rate them a lot. I remember speaking to Shas about this very young lineup back at DreamHack Winter. He said, if MnM don't make Challenger League, he has no idea who will.
Absolutely. It's nice thinking well about the changes they've made. They've had 3, well, I suppose 2.5, I suppose you could say. I'm not saying that because Doki's small, it's because he signed full-time across from Vexed. Things have changed since then, and they've gone through a bit of a roller coaster, it feels, since the last Prem season, but now they've found this 5 that they really want to push forward. They're looking absolutely fantastic. If you're going to win a Prem, now is the best time to do so.
Yeah, compared to last season, they seemed a lot stronger. And, you know, with the other teams in the lineups, like with Vexed, you mentioned before, they haven't really practiced that much. But you made another point, you know, it shows that unorthodox play style which they could bring to the table. It could do really well from or really bad. But with MnM, they are such a good structured team. Will it make too much of a difference for Vexed?
Well, you look at last season, we've already seen this match play out. We've seen MnM versus Vexed. Vexed took the 2-0, but there's a big difference. Different rosters. If you look at that MnM lineup, there's only 2 out of the 5 players who played in that match last season. Since then, they've added Doku, who they did steal from Vexed, and then they added Kendry and they added Savesin. So there has been a complete remodel of that team, and speaking to the players, this is the 5 they've wanted. And
it's those 2 big players that you spoke about at the end there as well. Kendry and Saves both got Challenger League experience, 2 fantastic players to really add some maturity to this roster, and they did have some good players last time round, but you definitely feel like this is the strongest iteration of this roster that we've seen today.
Compared to last season, I have to completely agree. And we do have a Vexed video now to see exactly how they think with all the players and the rosters going into this final.
This is my first LAN. Actually, it's my first LAN with Vexed as well. It's nice, it's our hometown. It's good to meet the team as well. You know, we've got some really sound players. You speak to them online every day, and this is the first time to meet them.
Playing on LAN is going to be fun. We have some players that played the last Prem, so we have some experience, and also one new player that hasn't played on LAN. So it's going to be interesting.
Who's better? Which team do I think will choke? Which player I think will choke? Doki will choke, absolutely. There's no debate. He'll choke straight away. He'll get like picked from a random corner, and that'll be it. Like the mouse will go through his screen, and he'll just flip. We don't scrim other players. We don't scrim other teams. So there's no, oh, I've heard Secret are doing this, or I've heard Vexed are doing this, because we don't. We turn up and we play a different tactic every round.
So we don't practice, but the most important thing about our team is that we communicate really well in game. We know each other, we know what we want to do, and we communicate what we want others to do. Winning the Prem would be amazing. We didn't win last time, we came 2nd place, so we're really gunning for the first spot this time.
MnM, like I said, they'll think they're the better team, and you know, people think they're better, but that's because no one sees us. We don't scrim, we don't practice. We are the underdogs of Prem. and then when they get 7-0'd, like, we'll be laughing then. The boys will be fine. I'm not stressed. I'm not stressed.
I'm not going to lie, I love the confidence and the fury from this Vexed roster.
You know the funniest thing? That's their coach as well. I know there's some big personalities on this team. I've never heard Yansu speak before, and the first thing I've gone is Doki's going to tilt, his mouse is going through the screen. I hope not, mate. Let's keep some monitors intact here today. But this roster is pretty much the same as what we saw last time round, Dumpling being the addition that got added in place of Doki. So still going to have a lot of the synergy they spoke about in that video. The biggest concern for me is consistency. Every single week there is a new player stepping up and performing big for them. My concern is that here on a stage, who's going to step up? If it's no one, they are in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, another thing they're missing as well is their mighty strat book. Where's the Vexed strat book? They forgot it. They forgot Rush B.
Memorized it.
They don't know what to do. They're going to fall apart. But no, Vexed, we know they're the unpredictable team. We never, ever can count them out because they can make nothing just reappear. Literally, they can pull out a win out of thin air. That's the way they play. I think Feral is a big stake in this team. He is the IGL. He's the one who calls these strategies. If anyone's going to be able to do it for Vexed, it's going to have to be Feral.
Yeah, and he's the guy who came with the magical smoke grenade bouncing strat that we saw on Villo. We haven't seen that before, so he was kind of the deviser of that. So I'm really curious to know what else has been keeping up his sleeve in preparation for this game.
Yeah, I do find it a bit strange because there's a lot of things I've seen over the years, and seeing a team that doesn't practice that often don't really get too far. So if this actually somehow managed to go through this match and get to the finals, I wouldn't say it's unbelievable. It's just due to the fact that it's a very, very rare case to see. And don't get me wrong, like Vexed are very confident for a team who haven't really strategized too much to just go for the flow and just see what they do round by round, which is fair enough. But like you mentioned before about the unorthodox play styles, they are very unpredictable. MnM have to really be on their toes just in case they get the wrong foot.
Smash them with skill and synergy, that's pretty much their motto, it feels, at this point, because when it comes down to it, ultimately, it's an FPS game. Your aim is to kill everyone else on the other team or win the objective. You'll do that by killing people on the other team. So as long as they can outgun them, and like they say, if Doki tilts, he's one of the big fraggers on this team. If he does get tilted, and we've seen it in weeks before where he's been one of their bottom tier players because he just hasn't been there mentally, that happens today on this stage in front of Vex as well. That's when everything can go wrong for MnM, so I imagine Vex will be playing into that.
That's the big thing about MnM. I think their mentality sometimes does get the better of them. I do start to worry, especially Doki. We know, yes, he is that player that we always talk about, that the Scottish hero that he self-proclaims himself. But still, if MnM are their own worst enemies at points, I look at some of their weeks in Challenger Leagues. They managed to pull out 2 draws in their last week of Challenger League. They weren't happy at all. They had matches that they believe they should have won, but there was issues internally with, hopefully, I hope they have worked those out, and if they don't, well.
Yeah, I hope so too. With MnM Gaming though, you talk a lot about how they get tilted quite easily, get triggered a little bit here and there. Maybe they're not the team they should be in an offline environment. But with MnM Gaming, do you feel like they're the team that they've got enough experience to kind of reset their mentality if it gets to that stage, or do you feel like, you know, they will struggle in certain areas of that aspect?
I don't think you become a Challenger League team that currently sits in 3rd place unless you've got that nailed down. Mentality is a huge part of this game. Sometimes you will lose 2 or 3 rounds on the bounce, and it's about how you recover, how you keep that communication going, because that is the death knell for any team. If your communication drops off when things start going wrong, you are not going to win any more rounds off the back of that. That resilience we built into them from Challenger League, I think, and like I say, now is the best time to show it.
And we do have the players to watch just to see exactly what we could maybe find in certain aspects and to find out what we're going to see from here. So we do have Doki. Funny enough, we were just talking about him a fair amount, and we do have Pi as well. But why are these 2 players the ones to watch here during this match?
I've been really impressed with Pi this season. I think he has been one of the top fraggers that we have. I think back to his 2nd week where Vex played Epsilon, he dropped 17 kills. That's not easy to do in a match, especially against Epsilon, who also had their own unique qualities and also made them a very difficult team to face against. So Pi, if he starts getting the morale behind him, gets that confidence, and he believes that, yes, we can actually beat MnM, well, we could just see him drop another 17 bomb if he feels like it.
Another 17 bomb would be nice, and it's the best place to repeat a performance, but again, my concern comes back to that point of consistency, is that Lightning has never struck twice with Vex. It's always been one player in 1 week, another player in another week. It's going to have to change, because now they're basically in week 7 or 8, you could look at it. If you're looking at it as a full season, you've got to repeat one of those performances from earlier on, and as you say, that 17 kill performance will be the one you'd pick out of the pack to bring here to the finals.
Yeah, I think I remember witnessing that as well, and you know, to show that level of consistency, especially with a top tier team like MnM, it will be very difficult, maybe depending on match choice and how Pi feels, but a lot of these players on this Vex roster have a lot of talent. They can all take turns in certain ways with that fragging ability, so hopefully they won't have to rely on Pi just a little bit too much here.
Absolutely.
I think just in general of the way Siege had kind of developed, for some reason, there always need to be one hyper carry in every team in every match you play. I think a perfect example, sorry to say, but Team Secret last night, whenever they played against Empire, there was nobody who was stepping up for kills. Typically, if you look at Secret, Leon Gids is that hyper carry. He was invisible last night, and that's something I think that teams need to start adapting with, is the level of consistency. I come back to that. That makes a great team from an okay team, and MnM have that greatness. They have that consistency, and it's just Vexed who really need to show us they also have it as well.
You speak about the whole consistency piece as well. I think Citizen is a player we need to mention in that regard. You look at his stats from not just this season but last as well. He has been one of their consistent top fraggers in every game. He kind of goes unnoticed in a lot of cases because he likes to play these utility-based operators, things like the Valkyrie and the Pulse. So his impact is more felt towards the latter end of a round. But when he does show up, he shows up big and definitely is going to be a key anchor in this team today.
Yeah, that's one thing I was going to mention as well. Apart from Doki and Pi, is there any other particular players who you feel like could really step things up, especially here today?
Well, everyone could potentially. That's the whole point of consistency in Siege, right? And it's the one big factor for many games that we compared to other games that I think can really play into it. Nello, one of the quieter players on the team generally, I'd say. He isn't the guy you ever really tend to see at the top of the leaderboard. I think he had 1 week so far in this season where he has been a big player for them, but otherwise he just goes about his business and kind of supplies. Really, I think you're looking at Kendra and Doki. Saves has still got to, I think, gel into the roster a bit more. You'll see more coming out of it.
I think Saves has the potential.
He's fantastic, and he did have a really good first week, but outside of that, I think he's been a bit quieter in cases. Once he gets to that performance that's carried him through Challenger League so far, that's when this team is going to be even scarier.
Yeah, I look forward to it now when we do have the map vetoes to see exactly which maps they'll be playing in this best of 3. And guys, I want you to tell me exactly what you're thinking soon as you see some of these map picks, because I guarantee that in some of these maps, Vex may favour, but we know how good MnM are and some of the others. So tell me what comes to your mind straight away.
I'm really surprised that MnM have banned Villa.
I'm surprised that Bank's been let through, because that was the map that Vexed nearly beat Secret on last season. That was their best performance today, I believe. So I think the Bank is a little bit scary for MnM, especially if our Bank has multitude of different ways you can attack a bomb site. And for Vexed, we know they're that spontaneous team that just do what they want. That kind of worries me for MnM. Decider Consulate, that's MnM all day of the week. That's a guaranteed. Vex needs to win it in their first 2 maps.
Oregon's the other surprise to me as well, because it's the only map they played more than once so far in the regular season, so I was thinking, well, surely that's the one you feel more comfortable on, you'd want to go to, but really not. Same with Border, actually, as well. They're a big Border team, and neither are here for them. So, surprised somewhat. Excited, yes, but still a bit surprised.
Yeah, this is the weird thing as well. One thing I want to pick up with what you said as well is about with Villa. Now, I'm not really too sure about how good MnM are on Villa. Secret said to us that, they're not the greatest on that map, but with Secret, I would say it's one of their best maps. So it's very hard to say if MnM are just not that good at it, maybe Secret are just way too good at it, or it's just, it's a bit of both here and there. But would you say it's one of their weaker maps?
Yeah, overall, Villa is certainly the one that, out of the 7, that is MnM's worst, in my opinion anyway, from what I've talked to them about that. It has to be their
spoke to different players.
We've spoken to different players.
I was going to say, some players came around like, yeah, Villa's one of our favourite maps.
I don't know if Doki's lying to me, probably.
The really nice thing about Villa is that you can basically cut the map in half as well. Yeah. So if you've got good team coordination, you can split it in half. You can essentially corner people in and pick them off one by one. That's where coordination will come into it, and where MnM, I thought, would have succeeded. So again, quite surprised to see them banning it away. I think it's also one of the maps that a lot of teams are still trying to figure out. There's still new strats emerging on it as well. That maybe when they saw the smoke grenade coming out of Feral, they were just like, look, no funny business, please, guys. We'll ban that one away right now.
Another thing as well, the point out is that we have not seen Vex play Coastline this season. So that is a bit of an unknown factor for us. We haven't seen, of course we know there's no VODs except for the Prem ones that we've seen from Vex. So Coastline, we have no idea where that's going to go. Is this a master plan that Feral's put in place, perhaps?
It could be. See, there's so many different situations we need to talk about here. And was it you who pointed out where you feel like MnM need to win these first 2 maps? Or so you're saying Vex needs to win the first 2 maps?
If it goes
Why
to
is that?
Consulate is MnM's map. That is them. We know that teams all around the world don't want to play them in that. Well, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, checking some of my stats from Challenge League, we did see MnM play Extreme, and we did see a draw on Consulate. So that's the first time we haven't seen them actually win that match. It's a bit of a surprise for me to know that MnM, yes, there is weaknesses. Maybe it's because Extreme did have a new player. They played extremely well to themselves. So maybe there's something about Consulate that slipped.
That's my biggest concern, is it's a map they only played a few days ago as well. So for Vex, if they put their time into it, they could have sat there and looked at it and gone, we know exactly what they're going to do. Every single time they're sending Citizen downstairs on Pulse and getting the scan intel out there as well. It's the kind of go-to strat. It's the same as when they play on Oregon, for example. They always start off with a tower attack. There are a few things about MnM that are very readable that if Vex have been paying attention, they'll be able to catch. So I hear what you're saying. It's definitely their strongest map, or one of the strongest. Can Vexed unseat them based on recent research? Yes, as long as they've done the research and it isn't just turn up on the day and play like they said in their video.
Yeah, well, this is the problem because, you know, Vexed had plenty of time to do this research, just due to the fact that they've, you know, because they came first and managed to qualify, they've got a good, what, 2 or 3 weeks just to go through all the VODs, not even just the VODs and the research from the past Prem weeks, just watching all the best of ones from the Challenger League, you know, especially against the higher tier teams. So any teams that have beaten them over the past or even just drawn with them, you know, that gives you an indication of what needs to be done to actually topple them. But do you feel like they may have done even just a little bit of research just to maybe just on the fly? I know, don't get me wrong, I know they haven't practiced that much. They come on when they feel like, just, you know, just all willy-nilly and all that bits and pieces, but
he'll give you the long answer.
Point.
Yes. There's one thing that I think that possibly Vex might have done, and that is, I think they may have studied operator bans for MnM. There are certain players there that we know are excellent on different operators. Citizen ones that come to mind, that Valkyrie and Pulse. I always see a Valkyrie or Pulse ban, whoever he's playing against, usually onto him. He, you know, he's a target ban player, which I think is a great aspect for him. It means that people actually do fear him as a great player. You take, for example, Pengu on a Blitz or Montagna, people fear him. It's that simple thing. So I think the bans are really going to show us if Vex have actually done the research.
That's great stuff. Well, we're going to go straight into our game anyway. Between Vexed and MnM Gaming, it should be a good one, and we'll throw it over to our casters.
Hi everyone, Ace of Pyrite joining you for the first game, and by my side as ever is the wonderful XR Triker.
How are you feeling today, Ace?
I'm feeling very excited today. I've come in, MnM Vexed, what a first fixture we've got. We're here at Bowlers Exhibition Centre in Manchester. The Premiership is growing. We've got a crowd multiple times bigger than we've seen before. The excitement in the room is palpable, and this is going to be a cracker, I think, to open us up. I don't think we could have got a better fixture first off to really fire everybody up.
Absolutely, MnM versus Vexed. It's certainly going to be one for, you know, it's one not to miss, if you will. We are midway, well, we have actually finished the operator bans now, and we're seeing some things that we've not necessarily seen before. We're going to see the book ban coming out, Hibana, Mirror, and Maestro. So very standard bans on defense, but the attacking bans there maybe a little bit unusual.
Yeah, well, like you say, the book we don't see too often, but there is a lot of use for book on coastline and getting underneath particularly. I mean, Penthouse is a site that we're really not seeing very much of, but if you look at Hooker Billiards particularly, the entire floor is destructible through there and in Aquarium. So getting underneath that in Sunrise, in Blue Bar, can be devastating. So not too much of a surprise to see the book go. I think it's one of those, it's an outside pick, but it's understandable.
I think it's more unusual because of the operators that it leaves available. So we've got Glaz available, we've got Dockerby available, we've got some of those operators that you would usually look to remove, especially when playing coastline. We've got a lovely stat there saying Book has been banned at 0% this season, so it is certainly something unusual. And that really just plays into it for me. I think, is this something that either team have kind of figured out, have Vexed said, you know what, we're going to do something a little bit unusual there and we're going to ban the Book, and that's going to free us up to be able to bring one of these high impact operators when it comes to their attacking phase.
Certainly, so looking towards round number 1 then. MnM coming in with a reasonably standard lineup there for a kitchen defence. We've got the Echo, not too much of a surprise, seeing that he's been allowed through that banning phase. It really is generally a choice between the Maestro and the Echo going. You want the added range of that ACOG, but also just the use of those 2 drones at the minute is extremely powerful. So Jesus, I'm sure going to be looking to deny any plant opportunities that might come in. At the minute we've got 3 roamers upstairs by the looks of things, and that is again another important point for coastline, particularly for kitchen. The attackers are going to look to get themselves established in VIP particularly and open those up and see if they can get any vertical kills. So we've got Feral and Pi at the minute playing up there, and I think we've got the Jaeger of Zach just roaming down in the security area as well. He's not too far away from their main stairs and able to rotate upstairs quickly if needs be, but also back to site. So a nice semi-roam there from Zach, and that's something MnM are going to have to deal with. But an early kill coming out onto Doki, and that will be traded back by Citizen. So that will be Pi getting 1 for his team, but then being taken off the board now. Doki unusually coming out with the first kills, not generally the first deaths. We've seen him throughout the season consistently going in and being that aggressor for his team, so that could be quite a big start there. I think he's also leading, don't quote me, I'm pretty sure he's leading the Premiership on kills so far this season as well, so that could be a big one for Vexed early on.
quite possibly Saves has got some information on his drone, and he's going to be looking to push onto a player on 90. The static camera is still available, and with a dead person it could be watched, but no, Saves is going to find the head of Feral. Upstairs roam clear has now been completed, and that's going to allow MnM more than half of the round to be able to execute onto site and figure out what they would like to do.
Unfortunately, they have lost the sledge of Doki, who would have been extremely useful upstairs. We're going to see Jesus just square things away with a kill onto Saves, so that will leave us now in a 3 versus 3, 1 minute 20 to go. But MnM, having top floor control, I'm sure would like to have that sledge available so that they could start opening the floor up. But without that, down to Nello possibly with a shotgun, but we see him move downstairs. Not too much of a surprise to sort of forgo that vertical control. We've got kills coming out from Citizen before he is traded out. We now find ourselves in a 2 versus 2. Jesus on the Echo is still alive, which could be important. Dumpling moves in with a kill onto Nello. Kendrew nearly loses that gunfight, but will square things up at 1-1. He's got the perfect operator to challenge an Echo. The IQ scanner just coming out there and taking that first yokai drone off the ceiling. I'm not sure if Jesus has another one remaining or not. Kendrew does have the diffuser in hand, and time is on his side as well. So it's all going to be about locating this Echo, but he won't be able to do it as Jesus holds a nice angle, puts that ACOG to great use. First round, Vexed.
What a great round for Vex to open things up on. Not a round that it looked as though they were going to win after the first couple of engagements. MnM coming out really strong on a nice early roam clear, able to gain good site and map control very early on, and they did have plenty of time to work with. Going into that 1 versus 1 situation, I think there was about 50 seconds left on the clock. As you say, who better to go against an Echo than an IQ? You can deal with those yokai drones that are going to cause you a lot of discomfort. But ultimately, it was Zach that was able to clutch out that round. Oh, sorry, Jesus that was able to clutch out that round on the Echo. Zach this time opting for the Echo, and we are going to see round number 2 get underway with a hooker lounge and billiards defense.
It just goes to show the value of that Echo. I know it's a conversation that we've had a number of times, X. You know, when we're talking about ACOGs on defence, you are limited in your options. And we've seen Rook really drop off recently. I know that's something that X is definitely keen to see, the Rook dropping away in pick there. And that's a great example of why Echo has got that utility. He held himself back in the service area whilst his drones were still available. But as soon as he's lost that, what a powerful option he's got to challenge that angle with the ACOG. And great play there from Jesus. Not getting too aggressive. We're going to see the operators switched up a little bit. We're going to see Zach moving on to the Echo this time out. Jesus will still find himself on an ACOG, but he's going to be on the dock, and we are moving in round 2 up to hooker and billiards.
Just getting toward the end of the preparation phase now. Nothing too unusual coming out in Vex's setup there, as everything does seem to be in order and in place. They've got the VIP wall reinforced, which is always going to be very handy because that does provide a nice line of sight over on into billiards and the A bomb site in general. I think in this round, it's going to be down to MnM to be able to take some good control like they did last time, maybe push in from Penthouse Theatre side and just sort of start to do a very thorough roam clear. We're not seeing a pulse being brought out on the Vexed, on the side of Vex, so there's not going to be much need to, or not much worry from underneath, but already Kendrew is putting the IQ to good work, and what better pick than to pick off the Yokai and the Echo, and he's going to follow it up with another. Jesus grabs one in between onto Saves, but I think that's a trade that's worth making at this moment in time. 4-3 now, having lost a Legion and an Echo. 2 of your most vital operators. Doki coming in with a grenade kill as well. Not sure if the ADSs were correctly placed there or if he's just managed to sneak around them, but this is looking very, very good for MnM indeed. We've got Citizen holding an angle on the north window, looking into hooker, and he will find a kill from there as well. Feral now all alone on the ground floor, making his way through office. The site is MnM's for the taking, and I imagine the plant will be going down very, very shortly. Feral's going to have a very tough job if he's going to look to clutch out this round. There's a Claymore as well that's going to hinder his attempted rotate. He does manage to take it out, but I'm sure that Kendrew is well aware, and he is going to find the head of Feral, bringing MnM taking round number 2 in very short style.
Yeah, Feral in a bit of an all-win situation there. As soon as he takes the Claymore out, you could see Kendrew snap round. He knew that somebody then was on Cool Vibes stairs, and he just had to wait for that head to appear. And because of how the viewing angle in Siege works, you're going to see the head of an operator before that operator can see you, generally on a set of stairs. So Kendrew doing exactly the right thing, holding his angle. He didn't need to move forward to challenge, and he picks that up for MnM. No surprise that we've seen the first 2 rounds go one in either direction. We knew from the beginning that this is going to be a close game. It's really going to be a bit of a battle, I think. But MnM playing much better on that. I think, to be honest, in round 1, I think MnM were a little bit unfortunate in losing the sledge early on. It just lost that soft destructibility that they were obviously keen to utilise. They got the top floor roam clear done really quickly in round 1, and I think ultimately the game plan was there to get into VIP and start opening things up. Without Dorky, they were forced downstairs, and I think that played more into the hands of the operators on Vexed that were left there. But they've adapted well from that. They won the gunfights. Kendrew getting a great first kill onto the Echo, as you said there. What an operator to take out first. That's, you know, somebody who grows in power later into the round without a doubt. So looking towards round number 3 now, we're going to have Vexed come in for a second attempt at hooker and billiards. And I think I was going to ask Yex what they have to do differently here. I think the answer is win the gunfights on this one.
They just need to stay alive for a little bit longer downstairs. I'm not sure how Zach was caught that far out of position on the Echo to be first blooded like that, because that's not really a position that you want to put yourself in as an Echo player. You're going to want to squirrel yourself away somewhere and make sure that you are safe, and especially losing your Legion as well. That's a lot of information denied there. There's 8 goo mines that are going to give you very good indications of where the push is coming from, and it does slow the attackers down a heck of a lot. Already they're doing a better job because we're 30 seconds into the round and we've still got 5 players on either side, which is going to allow Pi just to play downstairs in blue bar. He's got the support of Zach over in Sunrise, but Citizen opening things up again with that first blood onto the Echo. Dumpling is going to be down.
1 man left on site for Vexed here. We've got 3 roamers downstairs. Feral will get a kill onto Dorky with the headshot, so that is the sledge off the board. But as I was just about to say, they are approaching site quickly. Kendrew getting the plant down here, and there is nobody to challenge him. Jesus moving forward from billiards, won't be able to make it in time. And what MnM have done here is recognise that there was only 2 men on site. They've moved in and got the kill onto the Echo of Dumpling, and that's freed them up to be able to just push straight into that hooker site and get the diffuser down with 3 roamers downstairs. They are now falling back onto site and falling hard, with Feral and Pi getting 2 headshots, bringing us to 2 versus 3. Jesus will die as he tries to long arm that diffuser, and they are gonna have to make challenges on these remaining MnM players if they want the counter diffuse, and it won't be possible as Citizen moves in with a double of his own to take this second round for MnM Gaming.
Look at Citizen going huge there. Brilliant plays from him. He's standing out week after week as a very, very good player inside of the MnM lineup. He's proven himself time and time again. Fantastic first round, fantastic round number 3 there. Very well done indeed. And I love the aggression that we're seeing from MnM currently. That heads-up play to just recognise, and it's obviously due to good drone work, good communication. All these things are coming in. You can see there, 1.5 KD ratio for Citizen, so he is proving himself as a very, very effective fragger. And even on a severe role, which is, you know, could be seen as more of a supporting fragger role or more of a flex role as opposed to an out-and-out fragger as you would usually see in Ash. But the way that MnM were able to take that site and just the speed in which they were able to make that execute, recognise that there was nobody inside to deny the plant, get it down, and then defend it. It got a little bit scrappy towards the end. You know, it was a great 2K, but you can't rely on that every single time. Vex was certainly capable of clutching that round out, had a couple of gunfights gone in their favour, but I think they're struggling at this point to deal with the speed and aggression that MnM are bringing, which is unusual because that's sometimes, well, often what we see from Vexed.
Absolutely. That's absolutely what Vexed are known for. Rush B. You know, get in there, get the strap book out and rush B. But it's just, like you say, MnM, sometimes the way to deal with aggression is to meet it with aggression, and if Vex don't know how to respond to that, and, you know, let's not get carried away, it's only 2-1 MnM, they're only 1 round in front, but if Vex don't manage to halt this aggression in the next couple of rounds, that's when you start finding yourself on a slippery slope, you're 4-1 down potentially, and things start to change a little bit, especially with the defence on coastline. You really are going to want to come away with at least an even share of that. So we can see now we're back to kitchen service. We've got a couple of operators, Feral and Pi, playing upstairs. We saw this previously, Zach in Sunrise on that semi-roam again, but they were cleared out quite easily from top floor. Dorky did unfortunately take an early loss, so the sledge was off the board. Will we see that played out a little bit differently? Doki approaching very quickly here, sees the back of Zach and will open things up with a great kill onto Zach behind the bar in Sunrise. And once again, we're seeing a good start to a roam clear from MnM. However, not too much attention being paid to top floor here. We do have Feral and Pi up there, and that's something they're going to be careful of, because Feral and Pi have got that opportunity to get on the flank and get back downstairs. Jesus with a nice headshot onto Doki, putting that Echo's ACOG to great use again. 2 minutes to go, 4 versus 4.
MnM doing a great job of getting the opening kill there yet again. Shame that they did lose Citizen, as his impact has been noticeable during the course of these early rounds. Feral going to find one onto the Ash of Saves from the top of main stairs, and he's going to be allowed to rotate back up through luggage, no doubt through Aquarium, and look to start pressuring onto Cool Vibes, which could be a very, very important location, as that looks to be where the majority of the push is coming through from the remaining players on MnM. I think he's maybe just looking to get himself down that hatch, but he is going to have to use his C4 to do so, which I don't know if he's just sort of setting himself up there for a bit of an evacuation plan, if you will. If he does start to get pressured, he has got an option of dropping down into sight, but Doki's almost certainly going to hear that from where he is located at kitchen door, and he does find the kill over onto Jesus. So with Feral being so far off site, it's leaving Dumpling all alone inside the bathroom. Pi does find one onto Nello, and it does leave us in a 2 versus 3. But I think with the positioning that MnM have got currently in the side control, they're in a very good position, but no, Dumpling is going to get the kill onto Doki. Kendry trades it straight back out. He's in a 1 versus 2 situation now. He's not got time to plant the diffuser, and he is going to have to try and look for these kills. He's got a little bit of information. We see a drone be shot at the bottom of Cool Vibe stairs. Pre-fire shots come through. I'm sure that they're developing a crossfire at some point. Kendry is going to dip out of that engagement and look to challenge over onto Pi over inside of Showers. He is going to hit a goo mine. That's going to be all the information that Pi needs, and he's going to find Kendry's head. Vexed winning their kitchen defense yet again.
Good defence from Vex there. I'm a little bit surprised with MnM not taking the top floor roam clear on this time. They basically left Feral and Pi upstairs. I think they both got at least 1 kill each and were really hassling the flanks throughout the round. It just didn't allow MnM to focus on to the execute that they were looking for onto site. And I'm not really sure why they sort of forwent that top floor clearance, because in the first round when we had those same operators upstairs, they were sort of eager to get up there and clear it off, and that's exactly what they did, and they had a lot more sort of dominance over the map, whereas they did struggle a little bit that time, and I think basically it's because they left those 2 operators upstairs.
They just weren't given a free ride in a sense that Vexed, again, did a very similar thing in terms of holding upstairs, but because MnM didn't deal with it, they were just allowed to make those rotations onto site at the last second, and it really counted for a lot, especially when we've got, you know, MnM had full site control essentially, but just lost a couple of engagements on in the site, which meant that all the progress that they had made was all for naught at that point, because there were roamers that were ready to rotate back onto the site and trade out kills when it counted.
Back on to Hooker and Billiards for round number 5 there, a site that we saw in rounds 2 and 3. Both go in the direction of MnM on the attack. So a little bit of a surprising site choice here, X. I mean, they've lost this one twice, Vexed. Obviously keen to get it won, but, you know, maybe Sunrise Blue Bar is available.
Sunrise Blue Bar is available. The mirror isn't in play as it is banned, so it does make things a little bit more difficult in terms of defending down there. It's certainly possible, and I think given how successful they have been on the kitchen hold, having the upstairs to be able to roam on, it seems like Vexed are doing a better job at roaming above than they are doing roaming below. Ooh, Feral there with some nice early aggression. We're going to see a run-out kill there onto Citizen. Feral's going to be very happy with himself with that one, I am sure. Nice early man advantage there for Vexed. That could be enough to swing it in their favour this round. We are seeing Nello bringing out the Dokubi now as well, so that is going to provide a little bit of disruption for the defenders, and no mute being played on the side of Vexed will mean that Dokubi's effects will be fully felt.
Certainly something that we've seen throughout the season from Feral is that early aggression, looking for those opening kills. I mean, he is on the negative there. He has had more opening deaths than opening kills, so it is a risky strategy. Kendry going to move in and clear Feral out on that Ella roam. But, you know, in this situation, it did work with that early kill onto Citizen. Doki getting one for himself onto Pi, so that's now MnM 4 versus 3. Zach is going to be tracked by, oh no, he's going to be on a Dokubi call, so that's going to reveal his location, at least somewhat with the audio. We've only got Jesus on site, we've got Dumpling just playing those cool vibes stairs, and this is something that we've seen from Vexed previously on this objective. If MnM can start to push site here and get a bit of traction, maybe clear Jesus out of Aquarium, or alternatively play from the deck, Nello getting that last Roma killed with a headshot onto the Valkyrie of Zach. So that's going to leave us now 4 versus 2, and MnM looking to mount some pressure onto site. 1 minute 30, they've got plenty of time to do this one.
It's something that we're seeing increasingly is MnM and how much time they're actually giving themselves on their attacking rounds to be able to execute. The progress that they're able to make in the first half of the round is astonishing. They've regularly found themselves in sort of 4 versus 1s, 4 versus 2s, you know, that's those sort of your operator lineups in the final half of that round, and you just get yourself so much time to be able to execute and to be able to gather your next stage of information and figure out how you want to push onto these remaining members on site. We've got Doki and Dumpling, they're almost certainly going to come to blows, but no, Dumpling is going to divert his focus and he's going to get onto Hooker Doorway. That's going to allow Doki to be able to rotate up cool vibes, and with all the smoke grenades, Dumpling is having a very difficult time indeed. Last logic bomb call now coming out onto Jesus as Doki has already found the kill onto Dumpling, making this a 4 versus 1. Jesus got a very, very tough job to do. He's going to find his first, but the diffuser will start to go down. He's still got a lot of work to do in this 3v1 situation. Nello, I think that's his 3rd kill of the round. He is going to make that DMR do the good work there, finding another headshot for his troubles, and another round going to MnM.
A tough situation for Jesus that was never going to get any easier with that diffuser going down, and now just moving out, finishing things out for his team there and picking up his first, I think you're right, his first 3 kills of the game all in that round. So that's going to see MnM 3-2 on their attacking phase now. I'm sure they're going to be keen to take round number 6 here and give themselves an advantage going into that defensive phase. And from Vex's point of view, I think you know, it's then time to throw the dice, and they need to keep that aggressive attacking style that they've become so familiar with seeing from them. But I think MnM, if they can go into this defensive phase 4-2, are going to carry quite a lot of confidence into that for finishing things off. So round number 6, we are going to see Blue Bar Sunrise this time, after Hooker has been lost 3 times by Vexed. They are keen to try somewhere else, which is not too much of a surprise. Like you say, they don't have the mirror, which is very useful in defending this site, but I'm sure they've got something else up the sleeve.
Yeah, and to not see a castle either is a little bit strange. Sometimes the castle does work very well, often used in conjunction with a mirror, so maybe opting for a little bit more utility in terms of maybe the Jaeger or the Echo is providing them a little bit more flexibility. I'm a little bit disappointed. I think MnM maybe got debated there. There was a clash pick coming out on the side of Vexed. Kendrew switches off the Ash. Saves has been on the Ash up to this point and he's been struggling for kills. So switch saves onto the IQ. He can still deal with all the electronics. Put Kendrew on the Ash because he's been doing very, very well with IQ in the kills department. But Kendrew just switching off there onto the Capital. Not sure if that was sort of reading into the clash pick a little bit too much maybe. But a double run out is going to come from Vexed as they do try and show some early aggression. It will, however, be fruitless for them. But Pi and Feral both getting away with their lives. The MnM attack now is going to be fairly heavily focused onto the Sunrise area and that small little entranceway there, service entrance. Doki, opening up things with a kill over onto Jesus very early on indeed. Traded straight back out by Pi onto Nello, so no more pesky logic bombs this round for the defenders to worry about.
I think we're potentially going to see another site rush if Pi cannot keep himself alive here. Feral will, however, get a kill onto saves, and Pi is still fighting the good fight from behind the bar and keeping MnM at bay. Zach with one of his own onto Doki, and that is pretty much the MnM attack cleared out apart from this Sunrise push. So that now allows Vex to just concentrate on what they're doing. Pi with a great headshot onto Kendrew, and that leaves Citizen in a 1 versus 4 situation. He will get the down onto Zach. He just needs to try and break these down into as many 1 versus 1 encounters as he can. The last thing he wants is to be getting himself into crossfires, so for the time being he's going to play from that blue bar window. The one thing he does have on his side here is time, so he can pick his fights, he can pick his angles, and he can stay patient. It looks like the smoke is going to be left to bleed out, which is a little bit of a surprise with how important that utility is, but they certainly won't want to lose a second man to that downed operator.
Citizen in this circumstance has got a very, he's in a good position to be in a 1 versus 3 situation, 1 versus 4. So he can use this time now to be talking to his team and to be figuring out if there's anything that they want to try and change. Instead, he looks as though he's just going to make a real brute force push, and I think picking up the operator could have done them wrong, but no, it will be Dumpling that just manages to get off the revive in time and find that one over onto Citizen. Citizen pushes that a couple of seconds earlier, it could have been very different indeed. I think he was just waiting for Vex to maybe make a mistake and get a little bit aggressive, because they are known for their aggression, and with 1 minute 40 on the clock in a 1 versus 4, your best bet is to just hold a couple of angles and see if you can get those defenders moving around.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Time was on his side. He doesn't have the point notifications on, obviously, so he won't necessarily have known smoke was down, but if he did see him drop into a down but not out stage again, he might have just been thinking, I'm 1 versus 3, if I can pick up 1 pick here when the defenders start moving around, all of a sudden a 1 versus 2 starts looking a lot more winnable. But ultimately, Citizen no choice but to try and brute force his way in, start spraying some bullets, gets 1, but that will not be enough in a 1 versus 4. So moving on to round number 7 then, we will be switching sides, so we're going to see MnM going on to the defence now. The spoils so far shared, and we are even at 3 apiece. This one really is on a knife edge, and it is very, very difficult to call. I think the first round or 2 here is going to be important for whichever team, if one of them can gather a little bit of momentum.
If there was one game that you would ask me which is going to go to overtime today, or which is going to go to a 3rd map, I would say that it is going to be this first game here, because these 2 teams, a lot of skill on both sides, both very, very accomplished teams, and you know, the scoreline says it all. We're at 3-3. It's all going to be about how MnM are able to defend this, I think, because the attack that's going to come through from Vex, we know it's going to be aggressive. We know that they're going to be looking to move very quickly. We can see that in the operators that they've chosen. MnM, however, they've really got to do something, you know, pretty special here, because if you're coming out of coastline 3-3 on your attacks, you need to be picking up the rounds on the defense, because it tends to favor the attackers a little bit.
Certainly does. So we've got 2 roamers downstairs in Citizen and Nello, but we have got an early push coming from Feral here. This is the aggression from Vexed that we expected once they got onto the attack. Feral already has himself established in luggage. Saves currently pinned down behind that bar, looking to fight a drone. He will get the drone taken out, but that is his location well and truly revealed, and it's also now a very difficult location for him to move out of, because he's going to assume, being that he's been droned, that it will be watched. So Feral has just halted a little bit, got himself very quickly, Citizen with the first kill onto Zach to open up things for MnM there. Feral got himself very quickly into the luggage area, but hasn't made any further progress from there. It was always going to be a difficult push into Aquarium, knowing that they had an operator behind the bar. It's not an easy location to clear out. You really do need a 2nd operator to assist with that. Citizen with his 2nd of the round, getting the kill onto Dumpling now as well. So that's the Valkyrie really doing some work from down here in office, and they're going to have to start thinking about clearing these roamers out. Nello looks like he's moved back upstairs now. They've got the man advantage, so he's heading back towards site, but at the minute Citizen is just proving an absolute nuisance. Doki with a headshot onto Feral, clearing the ash off the board as well, and all of a sudden Jesus and Pi find themselves with an awful lot of work to do. 2 versus 5.
Is Jesus going to shoot? That's the big question. He will, but it will be a little bit late. He does find 2 for his troubles and brings this back to a 2 versus 2 as Pi grabs one onto Citizen as well. All of a sudden, the tide has shifted, and we are now very firmly at an equal man advantage, 2 apiece. Heavy denial left on the side of MnM, but Kendry's going to opt to use the gun instead to make this a 2 versus 1. Jesus now with it all to do. He has got access to the diffuser, but in a 1 versus 2 situation, he's not going to be looking to get that plant down, especially against an Echo and a Smoke. He's got a very tall order here if he's going to look to clutch this round out for his team. It looks so good for Vex. There was a flash of brilliance as a couple of quick kills got traded through, but ultimately Jesus now is left with a very tough job. MnM know exactly where he's going to be pushing from. He has got a little bit of time. The Toxic Bay canisters will start to come through now, and that's going to deny at least 15 to 20 seconds for Jesus on his push. He's maybe thinking about opening up that soft wall that's just next to him, looking over on into the site, but instead just going to try and hold an angle and pre-fire some shots, see if he can get a lucky head. But MnM not needing to overexpose themselves. Kendry's in the Yokai drone. Vexed is going to be full flashed. He's able to get off it and grab that final kill. MnM doing a great job on their first defensive round.
Clinical defense there from Kendrew and Nello. You could see the bulletproof cam that had been placed on that reinforced wall opposite the billiards table, and that made it extremely difficult for Jesus. from that angle, he was never really going to see any success because the Bulletproof Cam had a man on it and was just basically watching and feeding back his location throughout that entire engagement. So, as Kendrew did, just needed to stun him a couple of times and then pop out and get his kill to finish off the round. MnM Gaming taking that first defensive round and coming into round number 8 with a slim 4-3 lead.
MnM unbeaten on Hooker so far as well. They managed to win it every single time that they attacked it, and now they've won it the first time that they've defended it. So that tells me that this is looking very good for them all of a sudden, because that is a site that Vexed really struggled with on their defense. Now, Clubhouse is a map with viable bomb sites. There are multiple viable bomb sites. We saw Kitchen, Blue Bar and Hooker all be used. Kitchen and Blue Bar to success by Vexed in their defensive phase. But if MnM are able to pick up a round on Kitchen and they're able to pick up a round on Blue Bar, or maybe even go back up to Hooker, it's got to be looking pretty good for them at this moment in time, purely off the history of this game so far.
Yeah, and I don't feel like Vexed were even particularly close to that one there. They did have that flurry of kills with the 3K that brought it to 2 versus 2, but that's not something that you can rely on every round. I think the stars aligned a little bit and a few MnM operators pushed at the same time, and that gave a couple of quick kills to Vexed there. But like I said, that's not something that's going to happen round in, round out. So I think MnM will be quite confident in getting themselves back to Hooker if they can take potentially Kitchen and a third site, as you say. So we're going to be looking at round number 8 now, getting into the action phase. We can see at least 2 MnM operators, Saves and Citizen, getting themselves upstairs on the roam. Doke looks like he's up at the top of main stairs on the Legion as well. So a heavy top floor presence from MnM here, and I'm sure they're going to want to hold Vexed out of the VIP area for as long as they can, if not completely. But we are seeing some Vexed pressure coming both from Hooker and potentially the bathroom of Penthouse as well. So good crossfires potentially being established if Vexed choose to push this.
Save just losing his position there, looking onto Hooker door. It is going to allow Zach free reign on into Hooker, as he's now just located himself at the bottom to mid of Cool Vibe stairs. Now, he's got a very tough fight there if he wants to try and move up and take that fight. He maybe is looking to support Kendrew downstairs in Sunrise, but that isn't really where the push is coming from. Nello has got a shotgun hole opened up in the floor of bathroom, looking up into Guitar or Hall of Fame. And he's very well placed to get a kill if someone does choose to rotate, but I'm not sure if they will. Zach finding our first kill of this round onto Saves. Saves still struggling in the kills department. Feral now is pushing his way in through toilets, and he is going to get wide peeked by Nello, and Nello will find that with the SMG-11. Very important kill there. If you're going to give Feral any sort of side control at that point, it would not be good for MnM at all. Doki going to trade one back for Jesus, so MnM coming off better in that small trading war there at 4 men to 3.
Vex not really gaining any significant top floor control at present. They have cleared one of the roamers out in saves, but Doke and Citizen still being allowed to operate up there. And there comes another headshot from Doke onto Zach, so that puts them 4-2 at a man advantage now. Doke moving his way through luggage, Citizen still top floor, and they really have just been allowed to operate freely up there. Citizen getting a kill onto Dumpling in the theatre through that rotation hole that's been opened as well. Pi will finally finish Doke off, but his job really has been done at this point. Pi down to 75 health, 50 seconds on the clock, no diffuser, and he has it all to do. It looks like Citizen now has rotated back down those main stairs. He's going to play himself down in security, so he's not quite rushed all the way back to site, but he has gone sort of drop back onto a semi-roam, and that's exactly what he needs to do. He's wasted a lot of time top floor already, and as Pi pushes down onto the bottom floor, he can waste more time or potentially get the kill. Is Citizen going to know he's here? Surely that feedback is going to come. Citizen's going to be looking to challenge this, but he won't need to, as Kendrew gets the final kill for MnM. 2 defensive rounds on the bounce now, and this could become difficult for Vex to claw back from.
Yeah, to move into your attacking phase and to not be able to pick up a round on Coastline out of 2 is unfortunate for Vexed indeed, and they are going to have to start winning some rounds if they do want to look at contending for this first map. But as it currently sits, it looks as though this one is going to be in the book for MnM. Not over yet, still got 2 rounds to go, and Vexed are more than capable of pulling this back, but with the way that MnM have been defending this, I really don't see it. They are going to opt to go to Blue Bar and Sunrise and show us what they've got there. So we're almost going to do a full tour, I think, of coast. I don't think that we'll see Penthouse Theatre. I think we can pretty much safely assume that we're not going to see that site, but I think we'll see a tour of the other 3.
Yeah, I don't think that we should see Penthouse.
No one wants to see that.
Nobody wants to see Penthouse Theatre. So moving into round number 9 then, 5-3 in favour of MnM and Vexed. Really do have a job on their hands. They need to change something up here. They tried early aggression, I felt, in their first attacking round. Feral getting himself very quickly into luggage, but it just seemed to stall out. MnM had set the stall out very well to prevent that, to make it difficult to carry that momentum through into the aquarium area. So Vexed, I don't know, they really need to be clearing the roamers out, first and foremost. They need to be working in teams of 2, potentially, with drones going in ahead of them, and just trying to clear those roamers out. We've got saves we can see up on the top floor there. I'm sure Citizen may be joining him as well. We've seen Citizen playing quite a heavy roam game so far, although saves will drop back down to the bottom floor. So it looks like at the minute, top floor control largely given over potentially to Vexed if they recognise that quickly enough.
Yeah, and they've been very good in the speed on their attacks. They've just not necessarily been so good off working off enough information, I feel. I think if Vex get a little bit more information and just slow their attacks down a little bit, they could see a little bit more success. That being said, MnM are defending very well, and it can be difficult to attack onto you know, when defenders are just going to hear a barricade go and they're just going to start running towards it. It can be very, very difficult indeed.
We know there's at least one of the MnM players who loves to do that.
It can be very difficult indeed to you know, to look at challenging onto that. Zach has got himself over inside of offices, but he is all alone, and I don't believe he's got any drones around him. Nello is going to place a toxic bait out there very early to be getting them out, but it is going to deny that entry for Zach if he was to choose to rush into site. Feral, top of Cool Vibe stairs, just going to be dealing with a little bit of barbed wire. That's no doubt going to give his location away. I feel like Zach's very vulnerable down here. He's all alone. He's inside of office. Doki is coming through servers, and they almost certainly know that he's in there because there's a lot of information on the side of MnM currently. We've got Nello. Nello used the toxic bait, so he knows that somebody's playing over inside of that office. So all Doki's got to do is try and hold this angle. Shots are going to go through. Neither manages to land a shot. Doki could look to get pressured now from the Jackal on the top of main stairs, and now he is going to need a little bit of support in his endeavours as a defender, as he is very vulnerable here. If Zach did choose to just push that server, he would no doubt get a free kill onto the dock, but instead Kendrew will find a kill onto the Ash of Feral with our first one. The slow peek coming out from Jesus. Doki, all he's got to do is sit there and hold the trigger. Already holding the angle, juices himself up as well, as his location is going to be revealed, and with being with 3 armor, he's going to be very slow if he does try and make a rotation out of there. Zach finding a kill onto saves. He's finally moved up through security, and he's now looking over onto kitchen. Minute left. Who is this round going to go for?
Nello, just as always, ever present in sight. He really is a strong anchor player, and we see him getting so many kills in the late round as the final pushes come, and he really knows how to control his sight. But very promising from Vexed here. They've got some good top floor control. I would have expected to see this a little bit quicker maybe. They were pretty much gifted it. Most of the MnM players have played downstairs the entire round, but we're going to have Dumpling on the sledge now, getting in there. 30 seconds to go, and he's really opening up a lot of angles here. He needs to start making these pay, but Citizen will make Pi pay dearly with his life, as that brings us to 4 versus 2. Citizen getting a second onto Dumpling. Doki finishing things off with the last kill onto Zach, and I think the problem there was that top floor control was just left too late. MnM were then able to just have a flank, rotate back upstairs, and pick up a couple of kills upstairs. So Citizen, Zach, I'm not sure. He spent a lot of time in office. He wasn't dealt with, to be fair, and he did get a kill from there onto saves, but I don't know how he's going to influence the round from there at that point.
It's almost like MnM identified he was there and then just realised that he wasn't going to be a threat. They could go about with the business in terms of dealing with the other attackers and the other pressure. And because Zach had so little support down there, all he was left to do is just to find his own gunfight. And I think Doki must have juiced himself up there with the stim pistol, because there was a good few shots that went into the body from Zach. He didn't manage to find the head, and Doki had enough health in the tank to be able to pull that one out. Yeah, a little bit unfortunate there from Vex. Now, I think they maybe weren't expecting the blue bar hold, and then that's possibly why they've really struggled there, because it really just didn't seem like they had all too much of a plan, you know, really not working together as well as we have seen them do in the past. We are going to go back upstairs now to Hooker and Billiards. This is, of course, a site where MnM have done very well on both attack and defense, and this is going to be match point for map number 1 in this first semi-final.
Yeah, I think one of the differences between the two teams that we're seeing so far is just sort of maybe a lack of speed in dealing with situations that are recognised. So, for example, Vexed there, you know, they must have known that top floor was completely clear, but didn't move in quickly to take control of it and to start using that sledge. Sledge didn't start opening up any holes until 30 seconds left to go in the round. On the flip side, when we saw MnM on the attack, when they went on to the hooker objective, recognised it was clear, we saw the diffuser going down within, I think, the first 45 seconds of the round, first minute. So it's just about, you know, feeding that information back in and having an IGL potentially who's just going to call that quickly and say, right, decisively, this is what we're doing. Like you say, we've, you know, seeing Vexed operators out in no man's land like that there, and that's unusual for Vexed. I don't want to get on the back. They're usually, you know, a very swift working team and very organised. So, you know, maybe it's just not the map for them, and we're going to see a different performance when we move on to Bank, possibly.
It is strange because we talk about the speed on the side of MnM and how they're so good at being able to gain control, get information, and clear out roamers and get top floor control and all this sort of good stuff. And we talk about how they do it very quickly. Vexed move very quickly, but they just kind of get themselves into positions, and then it's like, right, what do we do now? And there just needs to be a little bit of a plan for after you've got yourself into office and you're on your own, or after you've got yourself over on into kitchen, or whichever the site may be. And I think that's maybe where they're just lacking a little bit at this moment in time, but we are in a best of 3, and there is plenty of time for them to show us what they have got today. We are not going to see any early deaths, although saves is very lit. As I say, that caster's curse, sorry, Zach. Kendry will find the first one, opening things up, but with the saves on only 1 hit point and a dream. He is going to look to get juiced up by the Doc. We're running the double Doc and Rook combination now, so no Echo this round. It has worked very well for them in the past, so a little bit strange to not see them bringing it on this site again, maybe.
Just seeing the Valkyrie cameras put to good use there, so MnM knowing that there is a Jackal moving into Aquarium, and they will have all that information being fed back from the Valkyrie there as to his exact position. 5 versus 4, they're going to see if they can get a little kill through the drone hole, but that won't be the play for saves at this point. MnM just holding fast on site here. It looks like they're quite happy. Rook just taking some damage from his own smoke, but Kendra will pop up with a nice kill onto Jesus. He swings round to take another challenge at the hooker door, and at this point nobody can clear Kendra out from behind that bar in hooker. He's going to continue to use that ACOG to challenge. He's going to get a 3rd kill onto Dumpling. That leaves us 5 versus 2 now, and Kendra is absolutely flying. Is that going to be number 4? No. Shots will go in, and Pi will end his reign of terror there and bring it back to 4 versus 2 in favour of MnM Gaming. Vexed really do have a job on their hands here. They've only got Feral on full HP. Pi is very, very lit at this point. Out comes the flashbang, so I would imagine they know Citizen is there, and in comes the challenge. Nello will get the kill onto Pi with the smoke grenade, though. The challenge continuing onto Citizen, but he will not die, and he gets the Deagle kill. Unbelievable scenes from Citizen there.
Feral, unfortunately for him, flashing himself there and just allowing Citizen all the time he needed to get out of his stun effect and grab that final kill. You can see the players on MnM very happy with that one. Lots of smiles all around. I love that statistic that we saw there. When not banned, Rook use 6.9% of the time. That's a statistic I can get along with. But no, the first map will be going to MnM. Coastline 7-3, a very convincing scoreline for them.
Yeah, very convincing indeed, and a convincing performance. They really were solid. You know, there weren't too many mistakes. They operated very quickly and decisively, as we expect to see from MnM these days. So we will hand you back over to the analyst desk very quickly so they can have a little chat about that match.
Thank you very much, guys, and kind of what we expected, just that little bit. Maybe hyped Vexed a little bit too much there, but we've got to understand is the fact that that was MnM's first map pick. But great start from them, but from the second half, you kind of saw where Vexed couldn't really find a way to kind of adapt and actually stop them throughout that entire side.
It was really tough because in the first half, things were looking good. It was 3-3. Every single round except hooker they managed to win, so that seemed to be the kind of crux of MnM, was that was where they felt comfortable and could actually win rounds. But the rounds that Vexed won were ones where one player popped off. Pi was popping off in one round where he got himself a 3k. The first round was pretty scrappy back and forth, with MnM being a bit sluggish at points. Outside of that, this whole map was pretty much entirely MnM's story, especially on attack. And that's what we spoke about before. This raw ball of energy coming up against a team that is rehearsed, that is practiced, that is forcing you to adapt. They just couldn't think on their feet to be able to catch MnM off guard.
Yeah, overall, I kind of question the banning phase from Vexed. I'm quite surprised that they let the Valkyrie actually get on through. Citizen was a player I kind of picked out as being one of those more target ban players, and you don't want to give him anything at all. You want to make sure you take those comfort picks from him and make him play a little bit more outside the box. Sure, then he could have rotated the Pulse, but I think, especially on Coastline, Valkyrie has much more of an impact because there is some very strong outside cameras that really do make things difficult for the attacks.
And what do you feel like Vex could have done to maybe change things up a little bit? Because it was going downhill from there. They had a decent first half, but you saw there players like Zach from Vex, not the greatest of starts. The first 5 or 6 rounds weren't doing the best, but made a few changes, was getting back on the board in the end. But what do you think Vex could have done overall as a team to maybe change the scoreline a little bit? Because that second half wasn't looking too good for them.
They just got caught a bit red-handed, I thought, at the very start. And MnM actually surprised me when they came out playing the same style that Vex did. Round 1, Kendra sprinted straight through Office and in the first 30 seconds found himself 2 kills. We saw Doki do the same thing again in round 4. Didn't expect that from MnM. They're normally a team that takes things a bit slower. They'll drone things out before they make any big plays. And in fact, that's been a criticism levied against them before. Is they're a bit too strat focused sometimes, but today they adapted to the style. And then it came to the second half and they changed it all over again. So they're leaving Vex having to change things 2, 3, 4 times in one match. That's a lot to handle for a team that hasn't done prep.
Another thing to also take into account is look at that round breakdown. We have seen only frags come in to end off a round. There's been no diffusers planted whatsoever. For a map like Coastline, that's very strange. Typically, the name and the game of Coastline is, especially if you take, for example, a bomb site like Kuka, you smoke Aquarium, you run in, you plant the bomb, you get out, and you try and hold it from the long angles. That's what Coastline was always about. That's why the attackers had so much things going for you. You know, you have operators like Glaz and Dokkaebi who can make it a nightmare for a defensive team trying to retake control of the bomb site. It kind of shows the play styles that both teams went in. They just kind of went in fire versus fire. Unfortunately, that flame from the marshmallows is a little bit bigger, but still, I think overall, if you look at the way that MnM, they kind of adapted well. I think their second half, they came out really strong in that first defensive round for themselves, and from there, they set the tone and they set the pace of everything that went out.
And this is the thing about Siege, is that ultimately when you're the defender, you're setting the pace and tone of that round. You choose what strat you're going to play, and the attackers have to adapt to you. And that, again, is where the concern comes in. You saw a number of times MnM doing things like really smart bulletproof camera placements. The communication was clearly there between them. It was forcing Vex to make mistakes. And again, I keep on saying it, but that's the main reason why this is going so wrong for Vex, is they are lacking that, not so much the coaching insight, but that synergy as a team where you're playing things a bit more formally. That's what they're going to miss out on by not practicing together very often.
Yeah, it just proves a point. I even said it from the beginning where over the years it's extremely rare for a mixed team who just, they feel like they can do what they like to actually be able to topple a team very well structured and high tier. But it kind of proved my point a little bit. But it's like I mentioned before, it's still MnM's map pick, and the next map will be Bank. Will Vex maybe have a little bit more of a chance going into this next one? Is it more their kind of style?
Yeah. I would definitely say that looking at the way Bank as a map is, it's massive. It's one of the biggest maps we have. Villa does overtake that because it has an entire bottom floor, but still, that bottom floor doesn't get used. But overall, on Bank, you have 4 bomb sites, all completely defendable, that's a fact. Even sure you may say, oh, but the open area isn't that good. There's one operator which I think really excels, and that's Clash. There's a lot of corridors in Bank that I think really does excel Clash. I take, for example, Secret versus Penta in the first half of Season 9. I seen Penta play a great Clash. It kind of crippled the entire Secret attack where they tried to take control of upstairs, and then they kind of worked their way into the bomb site. If you have a Clash standing at you, given all this intel, you don't want to try and peek in and try and kill those players with that soft destruction that you're bringing with open up the hatches. So we really have seen Bank mold into this very universal map, and I still think there is some untouched ways that you can kind of perform out in some of the attacks.
And it's Vex still going to perform here, I think, as well, because this is a map with 3 staircases. As you said, it's absolutely huge as well. There is so much opportunity to play aggressive roamers. Yes, MnM did that at the start of this last map, but if Vex are going to rally round, great map to choose to try and do it on.